important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work. See, you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody, or you're nobody. I'll be right back. Where's my money? Red Top gave you the package. You're supposed to be handing me my money.
Get the fuck out of here, Frank. Oh, what you gonna do? What the fuck you gonna do, Frank? Huh? What you doing? You gonna shoot me in front of everybody? Huh? Come on.
So what was I saying?
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC on ESPN Plus 31. Edmen Shahbazyan versus Derek Brunson. We've got two free plays that we're going to talk about on this card. Already have 4 plays loaded up on Wagertalk if you're interested. Link down in the description. Right now for clients, still around that 40% return on investment for the year with about 70% winners for 2020. Having a strong year, coming off a 5-1 night last Saturday with free plays and client plays. So definitely coming off another strong showing. Got to keep that going overall. So we're going to dive into it right away. As you see, I'm actually in a new location now and did move. So hopefully the sound quality is pretty good. Trying to get through all of that. But definitely the most important part is we need to come out here with some winners. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the main event of the evening between Edmen Shahbazyan and Derek Brunson. Right now you've got Shahbazyan is roughly around a minus 300. Money is definitely starting to come in on him. And then you've got Brunson, who is roughly around the plus 250 mark. As we always do here, we're going to go over the last 3 fights for each of these fighters, see if it makes sense to bet and what one fighter can expose the other, and if it definitely is an opportunity for us to place that wager. So the first person we're talking about is Edmen Shahbazyan. 3 fights ago, he fought Charles Byrd. Now, Charles Byrd here, not that big of a fan of him overall when it comes to his technical skills and what he does bring. But in this fight here, Charles Byrd quickly went in for a takedown on Shahbazyan. Kind of a situation where he figured that it was going to be a strong suit for him. That's something, and that's definitely a path to victory for Byrd overall. He goes in there and tries to lunge in, get the clinch, got him up against the fence. But within 38 seconds of this fight, Shahbazyan was able to end this fight. Hard elbows to the head, ended up dropping him, knocking him out early in this fight. Not much to take away from this fight overall as a whole, but it just shows that killer instinct that Shahbazyan has. Without a doubt, Edmen has that ability, and we're going to go through all those, has that ability to really go in there, work his striking, or work the ground game, and he's very well-rounded. In this fight here, you saw that killer instinct that he does have, so he goes out there and gets that first-round knockout against Charles Byrd. 2 fights ago, he fought Jack Marshman, and Jack is the journeyman fighter. You know, he's had some wins, had some losses, back and forth wins and losses, tough fighter, kind of more of that gatekeeper kind of role that he does have within the UFC, fights a lot of up-and-comers, has beaten some, older vets, or faced some older vets, and kind of a mixed bag, never could really get to that top level. But in this fight here, he's fighting another up-and-comer in Edmen Shahbazyan, and this was a fight here where quickly again, they stood toe-to-toe, and I gotta give credit at least to Edmen going into that fight and actually looking to stand toe-to-toe, looking to actually scrap right away, toe-to-toe against a guy who pretty much wants you to do that when you're talking about Jack Marshman. And quickly overall, then he goes in there, level changes, gets him to the ground, and quickly you see the transitions, the movement, how smart he is when he's standing, when he's striking, when he's grappling, when he's in the clinch. That's something that you're going to hear me say a lot of, because as I was going through this, you could really see the intelligent level for a 22-year-old fighter in Edmen and what he does. He quickly got this to the ground, found back control. Again, another one that you can't really dive and break down because he goes out there, gets another first-round submission victory, win, rear naked choke, ended up getting that victory over Jack Marshman in that first round. And then 3 fights ago, he fought Brad Tavares. Now, I thought this was a fight that was probably the one that I think you could take a little bit more away, although it was another first-round victory for Edmen. You look at Brad Tavares and look his body of work. I mean, over his last 8 fights, he's 5-3, and his only losses are from Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, and Edmen Shahbazyan. So you've got these 3 fighters are the only 3 that he's lost to. So he's only really lost to some really great fighters overall. So obviously going into this fight, he obviously didn't have that win yet to Edmen, but going into this fight, he's only lost to really good fighters. And he goes out there, and I thought that the way, again, that he fought was really, really, early on, kind of working his distance a little bit, working his striking a little bit. But when he sits there and he finds that rhythm and he finds that opening, he almost has a very good read on the opponents. And you've seen it, obviously he went for certain things very quickly, so is it hard to take away from? But you did see in this fight against a guy that is a veteran fighter, a tough fighter in Tavares, and he goes out there in a quick exchange, drops Tavares early, he gets back up, and you thought even if he got back up, hey, he took his best shot, could he keep moving forward, could he actually kind of showcase a little bit, show him that he can take his shot, and then right after that, he goes back in, head kick, Edmen drops Tavares, ends the fight in the first round again. I mean, another fantastic showing for this young kid, goes out there, 3 straight victories, 3 straight first-round finishes in all different ways. I mean, you've got a knockout, you've got submission victories, you've got head kicks. I mean, you've got just a mixed bag of finishes for Edmen Shahbazyan, and he goes out there and gets that victory. Not much to take away there. I know I kind of went through those quickly, but there's not much to take away. Again, I'm going to mix it all and talk about it all at the end when we go through Derek Brunson's. So 3 fights ago, Derek Brunson fought Israel Adesanya, and this was just a complete domination from Israel Adesanya, where you're talking about a guy who is probably the best fighter in the world right now, and, Brunson is a wrestler. He's definitely got some power. There's certain things that he does well in the cage, but this was such a stylistic nightmare for Brunson, where the movement, the distance management, the footwork, everything that Adesanya brings to the table, Brunson really doesn't have that, and he couldn't lean on his wrestling because Israel has really shown that he's able to defend some takedowns, get good movement, keep good space between his opponent and himself. And in this fight here in the first round, I mean, he dropped Brunson multiple times in that first round, and even the finish, it almost felt like Israel Adesanya felt bad for Brunson once he kind of jabbed him, threw a couple straights, dropped him, got him again, dropped him again, finished the fight. So in this fight here, Brunson takes the loss, a knockout victory. Israel Adesanya does earn against Derek Brunson. And then you've got 2 fights ago, he fought Elias Theodorou. And now, if Elias Theodorou, if somebody asked me who is the fighter you least like to watch, I would say Elias Theodorou. I mean, this guy, one thing's for sure that he does, he's very awkward, kind of this annoying, odd kind of movement that he does, real awkward spin kicks and has high volume, but not much behind the volume, kind of a weird combination of kind of weapons that he does use. But in this fight here, pretty much overall, Brunson in the beginning kind of was, a little bit thrown off by some of the movement, couldn't really, work that distance, work the way that he works, and a lot of things, that's what Elias has definitely done in his wins, is kind of, he's so awkward, guys, it's very hard to prepare for a guy like that. The way he throws, his combinations, the angles he uses, the movement he uses, again, annoying as hell to watch, but at points, in certain spots, it has been effective. But in this spot here, Derek Brunson kind of worked from the outside, allowed Elias to kind of utilize some of his range, and then he went in there, cut the distance down, worked some good striking. And overall, he just kind of outworked Elias Theodorou. And this is a fight here that stylistically, I think, worked a little bit better for Derek Brunson, just because the striking isn't really there. You're not really seeing Brunson in any really tough situations, or really a firefight, or any situation that was tough for him. This was kind of a lackadaisical kind of stand-up match. It felt more like a sparring match because it was a lot of pitter-patter shots. But in this fight here, you had Derek Brunson go out there. He did get the victory, and he gets the decision victory over Elias Theodorou. And then most recently, he fought Ian Heinisch, and Heinisch is a tough fighter. I'm pretty high on him overall, but he is a tough fighter, good defensive wrestling, tough guy, has some power, you know, a kind of guy that's just going to not let up and have that forward pressure moving forward. And in this spot here, this was a situation where, you know, basically the first early exchange, you had Derek was dropped, you know, early dropped, and that's something that you keep seeing kind of throughout the last few fights of Derek Brunson, is his chin. Can his chin hold up? And when you're talking about somebody like Edmen, who has the power and has that background to really knock you out, could that really stand up here? And you've got a guy like Heinisch who does have the power. He dropped him early. He got back up, and there were actually some good scrambling situations there. And there was even a spot where Derek kind of picked up Heinisch, and it looked like it was going to be an easy body slam, but some way the good balance that Heinisch has was able to kind of get out of that situation, kind of get a spot where he was able to say, all right, you know, I'm going to, you know, work you up against the cage, utilize the cage to kind of make sure I don't get taken down. Really good spots in there. I thought the way that he fought overall. Into that second round, I thought that, you know, Derek was landing. Derek started to kind of pick up some of the pace a little bit, and then that third round was kind of sloppy overall. Both of the guys were, I would say, not really, you know, kind of gassed a little bit, but pushing through, pushing forward. You did have Derek Brunson go out there, get the victory overall. So in the situation here, you take a look at both of these guys overall. I think the situation here, when you're looking at them, is you've got the sharpness and just the crisp striking of Shahbazyan, and the way that he strikes, his quick hands, his fast development combinations, his high fight IQ. Those are things I think overall that can really, really put him in a great spot long-term in his career. I think there's a lot of great things that he's able to do if he consistently sits on those things particular. But he also has that wrestling background. He also has the grappling credentials. So anywhere these fights go for him, he's comfortable. And that's something, he's one of that new breed of fighters that, you know, wasn't just a jiu-jitsu guy and then he needed to learn how to strike, or was a striker and then needed to learn grappling. He has grown up as a fighter saying, I want to learn everything now. And he went out there as very, very young, learned everything, and he has just really evolved leaps and bounds each fight overall. And I also like the fact that how humble he is and focused he is. That even in wins, he's not really running his mouth. He just goes out there, knows he has another opponent, another fight, and goes out there and trains very hard. So overall, he's a very tough guy, I think, to train for overall. But you've got someone like Derek Brunson on the other side here that, you know, Brunson has the cardio. He's got some wrestling background. I think that's going to really nullify each other in this fight. I think that they're both, you know, there could be some scrambles to the ground, but I don't really see, you know, one guy really having top control and lasting in that top control. Both of these guys are capable of even being on the bottom, scrambling and getting back to their feet, which leads me more to where my bet will be placed. But overall, Brunson has basic striking as well, and he's very hittable. He's the kind of guy when you're in the clinch or even at very close distance, you know, he doesn't really, you know, he's very lackadaisical defense, and he almost allows his opponent to hit him. And he's not a guy who should be being hit because he's been dropped by many fighters, even fighters with lesser power than Edmen has. And this is a situation where not only will the wrestling be nullified, but if it's a stand-up fight, you really got to look at Shahbazyan here. Now you look at the line, obviously the line, I mean, I'm seeing almost at a 310, I'm seeing 315 in certain spots. But right now the line here at this point, I can't, you know, I think Edmen absolutely will win this fight. Big on him overall and what he can do. But I cannot lay that kind of chalk here in this spot at minus 300, and you're even seeing it tick up again, like I said, over minus 300. I think this is a spot where we've got to look at method of victory here. So I like Edmen Shahbazyan to go out there and get the knockout victory. It's at minus 160. You're really getting off the big number. You're getting a better value here. Could he submit him? It's a possibility. I don't see this going 5 rounds. And this is a situation where Brunson's hittable. Brunson's been hit. Brunson allows fighters to be hit, and both guys having the ground game, I think, will nullify each other. I think it will be a stand-up fight. So in this situation here, my first free play will be Edmen Shahbazyan to defeat Derek Brunson via KO minus 160. And the other one we're going to be talking about is Lando Vannata versus Bobby Green. Currently, you've got Vannata is a minus 136, and you've got Bobby Green is a plus 116, somewhere around there. I'm going to go over their last 2 fights for each of them, and I'm also going to talk briefly about their first fight that they had a couple of years ago. We'll talk about that at the end. So in this situation here, you've got, first we're going to talk about is Lando Vannata. Lando Vannata, 2 fights ago, fought Mark Diakiese. And Diakiese, great fighter, definitely a guy, we saw him, although we bet the other way. Diakiese is a fighter that I think has a lot of great kickboxing, great distance management, moves around a lot, very creative with the striking overall. And in this situation here, I thought he fought very well against Lando, because Lando is a kind of guy who, not only is he creative as well, but he also was a kind of very unorthodox style. Very, very, different when you're talking about his movements, his angles, how he, throws a lot of punches with his arms down and almost invites his opponent in. And those are situations where he could work a combination as his opponent feels it is an opportunity to capitalize on his hands being down. But in this fight, he goes out there. I mean, this was really a strong showing for Diakiese. Overall, the way that he fought, the way that he was standing there, and he kept moving, and he kept landing and moving, and that kind of really countered the movement of Vannata in this fight. So he goes out there, and Mark gets the victory, an easy decision victory overall, beating Lando Vannata in that fight. Last fight he fought Yancy Medeiros, and this was a fight here where Medeiros is more of a brawler kind of mentality. And this was a fight, I think, that really really stylistically fit well for Lando in this fight. Because Lando, again, is kind of a mover, kind of likes to have space, but keeps moving. And, Medeiros is kind of looking to stand toe-to-toe. He wants to brawl. He wants to get close. He wants to kind of draw you into the firefight. And the whole fight overall, I mean, this was just a great showing from Lando. The way that he was relaxed, the way that he circled, the way that he just kept it almost seemed it was almost tiresome for Medeiros to keep following him. He couldn't really get in front and work a combination, because from there you would then see Vannata would kind of throw a nice combination, utilize some good leg kicks, and then move and kind of bounce back in and out, where again Medeiros was looking to kind of get close, seek the brawl, draw you into the brawl, and the relaxed overall showing, it was just a great showing overall for him. So not really, going to dive into this one too much, but in general, it was a good showing for Lando. He goes out there, gets an easy decision victory over Yancy Medeiros. And then on the other side, you've got Bobby Green. Bobby Green is a plus 116. 2 fights ago, he fought Francisco Trinaldo, and this was a fight here where Trinaldo just outworked him. And you've got a guy like Bobby Green, who Bobby Green is definitely known for kind of the same style that Lando has, where very relaxed, can be cocky at times, keeps his hands down on defense, kind of draws you into a fight, very unorthodox, has his own kind of movement. And, Trinaldo didn't fall for any of that. Trinaldo just kept the pace, kept pushing forward, kept working, and those are the things where even when Green was hurt, he actually ended up, kind of just keep capitalizing, where Green, would talk or would kind of, shake his head, pretend like he wasn't hurt. And Trinaldo just kept pushing it on, pushing out the output. And that kind of got Green behind on the cards. And you've seen him have that in other situations, in other fights, where pretty much the same kind of thing happened, where, he falls behind the cards because he's allowing his opponent to get off shots, and he'd rather kind of, talk or make it look like he's not hurt than actually go out there looking for the counter shot. So in that situation, Francisco Trinaldo goes out there, gets a decision victory over Bobby Green. And then most recently against Clay Guida, Bobby Green faced. And this is a fight here where, you've got Clay Guida, who's 38 years old, kind of heading to the end of his career, but he ended up getting Bobby Green down a few times early. Big takedowns, big power takedowns. Green, again, is very good at kind of bouncing back, getting positioning, and getting back onto his feet, looking to strike again. And, the pace at which Green put, I thought, was a lot different than a lot of his past fights. That he wasn't looking as much as kind of the lackadaisical defense, allowing his opponent to dictate the pace of the fight. This was a good showing for him. I thought that he looked good, although against Clay Guida, who, we know he's a little bit, again, over the hill in the situation there. But I thought he looked good overall. The stand-up game looked good. And in general, he goes out there, gets the victory over Clay Guida. So with that being said, you look at Lando Vannata, I mean, both these guys are well-rounded. Both these guys are very tough. They're both very durable. They're going to keep going forward even if you land big shots. And when we talk about the last time that they both fought, now which was a couple of years ago, but even in this fight here, I thought was very interesting because you take a look at the way that they're both fighting. They both fought very similar. But Lando, his striking, I feel, is a lot more crisper. And you saw in their first fight the crispness, kind of the mixing it up. He doesn't just headhunt. I feel a lot of times Bobby Green seeks the big shot. He's seeking for the knockout shot. Looking for the big shot where Lando's going to pitter-patter, mix it up, throw some body shots, throw a leg kick, throw a high kick, mix up, a jab, and those are going to be a lot more. When the target is being moved this much, it's a lot more difficult for a guy that's defending those to know where they're coming from. You got someone like Bobby Green who headhunts, they can kind of shell up, and it's a little easier for them to counter, it's easier to block, it provides a lot more openings when you're looking at what he can do as the counter. And throughout this fight, although early in that first round there was an illegal knee by Lando, and it ended up being a draw in their first fight. But I thought Lando looked better. The striking was very close. The strike count was very close. The takedowns, you had a couple good takedowns from Lando. Although, again, Green has that ability to kind of get back to his feet. But in that fight, I think you take a lot out of it going into this fight. Because, again, they both are awkward. They both are tough. They both are durable. And I think a difference maker in this fight also is how easy Lando switches from orthodox to southpaw. I think that is a big difference when you're talking about a guy who is very more stationary in Bobby Green, and then you've got someone like Lando who you will see him even just, almost consistently going from each side, and it's a lot harder for somebody who's defending the strikes from someone who can switch from southpaw to orthodox. Where the strikes are coming from, picking them up, where are they coming from, how to defend them, how are you going to counter, where he consistently is doing that. That's very, very difficult for him to do. And again, the creativity is a huge part of this. So I think the mixing up of the southpaw, the output that he has, some of the takedown opportunities that Lando can have. I look Lando Vannata here. I think the minus 136 price is a pretty good price here. Again, if it wasn't for in that first fight, the illegal knee, which did not hurt Green, it was just that he was down, and actually, Green seemed fine. It did take the point away. But without that, Lando gets this victory. I think that's going to be very, very close to it. I think it's going to be a competitive fight, but I think that Lando's going to outstrike him, get the takedowns, have some control. So I'm going to be taking Lando Vannata to defeat Bobby Green. So those are my two free plays for UFC on ESPN Plus 31. If you're interested, definitely check out Wagertalk. Link down in the description. I have 4 plays up for purchase for clients. Again, 40% return on investment for clients. Having a strong year overall. Got to keep going. Again, my bet review shows, I've kind of run out of time each week creating those. Didn't have one of the last couple shows. Maybe not this week. Probably not. But we will always consistently push out these prediction shows and always have client plays. Definitely follow me on Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC, and I will see you at the next show. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.